Hello good people, my name is Scholastica. I'm a fashion design teacher, and today I'm going to show you how to cut a calendar chart. And we're only going to make the basic blocks. We're going to make the patterns using this brown paper. So without any further ado, welcome to my class. So first you need your sketch, you need a drawing of what you're going to cut, then you need your measurements, you need your tools and equipments. Our measurements here are, we need the shoulder measurement, we need the bust measurement or the chest measurement, we need the full length measurement, this is the full length of your shirt, we need the sleeve length measurement, which is the full length of your sleeve, and then the sleeve round measurement, which is the round of your sleeve. Then in our tools and equipment, we need the scissors, we need a pencil, we need an eraser or a rubber, we need a marker, then we have a French curve, then we have a meter rule or a straight ruler. So those are what we need, those are the things we need for drawing. Then we need a brown paper for tracing. And this is where we're going to do the drawing, we're going to make patterns. And these patterns are the basics. You're going to need the development pattern if your design is a bit complicated. You're going to develop the design that you have from the basic pattern. And let's go to the drawing. First, you need to make a margin on your brown paper. You need to make margin for your paper. You're going to make a vertical margin, a horizontal margin, then a vertical one. And we're going to start with the back of our shirt, and we're going to find the lines. We're assuming this is our shoulder line. We're going downwards. So from the shoulder line, you need a bust height. And how do you get a bust line? You get a bust line from dividing your bust measurement by 4. So our bust measurement is 32. 32 divided by a quarter, you get 8 inches. So our bust line is 8 inches, and I'm going to use my tape measure to measure the bust line. So bust line is 8 inches. We're going to square the whole of our paper, because after drawing the back, we're going to go to the front. So make sure you square the whole of it. So that is our bust line. We're going downwards. This is the bust or the chest line. Let's call it a chest line. So this is 8 inches from the shoulder line. So this is our shoulder line, our chest line. We're going downwards. So from the chest we go to full length. And how do we get the full length measurement? We measure shoulder from the shoulder to where you want your shirt to reach. And our full length is 22 inches. So 22 inches, we're going to add 2 inches for hemming. Hemming is that fold that is found at the bottom of your shirt. And we add 2 or more inches you're going to use that 2 inch measurement to maybe add, if you want to lengthen your shirt, you can use the 2 inch measurement so our full length is 22. You're going to use the 2 inch to add onto your shirt. So when your shirt is complete, it's supposed to be 22 inches. So this is our hemline. Hemline. is our hem line. So we're going to add 2 inches from the hem line to act as the hem allowance. You can add 2 or more inches for hem, but for our shirt we're going to add 2 inches square across. So you make a straight line. So these are hem allowance. So we have the lines, we have the shoulder line, we have the chest line, and we have the hem line. We're going to go in and now make the actual measurements. And so we're going to go in with our measurements, and we've talked about our measurement. You said that we need the sleeve measurement, we need the bust or the chest measurement, we need the full length measurement. And we're going to go in with our measurement, our actual measurement. And for you to get the actual measurement of your shoulders, you're going to divide 14 inches, which is our shoulder measurement, divide by 2. So it's a half divided by 14, you get 7. So our shoulder measurement should be 7 inches. So we're going to go in with our 7 inches. This is our center back line. This is the center of our back, and we're going to get the front of our back. So from the center back line, you go in with 7 inches. Then we're going to add half an inch for the seam allowance. So it's 7 plus half an inch for the seam allowance. So 7.5 is our sleeve measurement. From the shoulder measurement, we're going to go in to our chest measurement, and our chest, the whole of our chest is 32 inches. So for you to get the actual chest measurement or the bust measurement, you're going to measure 32 inches, divide by 4. Then we're going to add a seam allowance of 2 inches or 1.5 inches. Seam allowance, you add seam allowance depending on what you want to achieve. So if you have a big fabric, you can add bigger seam allowance. And we're going to add 1.5 in ours. So we're going to add 1.5 inches. So our chest is 32 inches. 32 divided by 8 by 4, you get 8 inches. So we're going to measure 8 inches on our chest line. Then we're going to add a seam allowance of 1.5 inches. So what we have here is our actual chest measurement, which should be 9.5 inches. So that is our chest. That is our chest measurement, and we measured the shoulder measurement. Then these are a casual shirt, so it means from the chest to the bottom or to the hem, supposed to be a straight line. So what you've measured on your chest, you should also use the same measurement to measure your hem, because your shirt is straight from the chest. So we measured 9.5, and we're going to measure 9.5 at our bottom or at our full length. So that is 9.5. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to join the points for you to get the actual pattern. So we're going to join the hem to the chest line. You're going to use your ruler, straight ruler, to measure, to draw in your chest line. That is our chest line. Remember that you have a seam allowance of 1.5. So when you're stitching, make sure that you stitch the actual 1.5. When you stitch more than 1.5, your outfit or your shirt is going to be smaller, so it won't fit your customer. And when you stitch less, or you for example you stitch 1 inch instead of 1.5, your shirt is going to be bigger and it's not going to fit your customer. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to carve the armhole. And how do you carve the armhole? What I do is I'm going to drop the shoulder line to the chest line. So we measured 7.5 for the chest line. We're going to measure the same 7.5 along the chest line. So from the center back line, we're going to lower that line. So this is our chest line. So you drop the line. So we've lowered our chest line. And for you to be able to carve the armhole, we're going to draw in our 1 inch. Make a point, then use your French curves to draw in your armhole, and I'm going to tilt my pattern. I'm going to tilt my pattern. So we measured 1. Make sure that you pass through the 1 inch. Then I'm going to go in with half an inch from the shoulder line, or a quarter, because it's supposed to be a curve. Your line should reach your shoulder line, your shoulder point. So that's our armhole. That's our armhole. The next thing we're going to measure is our neckline measurement. And for our back, we're going to drop 1 inch for you to get your back armhole. You're going to go in with 3 inches. So you make the curve, because the armhole is supposed to be a curve. Then you're going to drop at the shoulder point. You're going to go down by half an inch, because our shoulders are not always straight. So you measure half an inch, you drop your shoulders, and you use your ruler to draw a straight line. So we went down by half an inch, then we moved in by 3 inches. So this is our shoulder measurement, this is our neckline measurement. We've gotten our chest measurement, we've gotten our hem measurement, which was 2 inches. Our chest measurement is 9.5 inches. This is our back, and you write that it's the back, so as not to get confused when you're going to cut. It's the back of our shirt. This is the basic block. If you have developments, you're going to use this pattern, assuming you have a yoke, like the sketch I have here. Assuming your shirt has a yoke, you're going to use this pattern to cut in a yoke. Our yoke is a little bit above the chest, so our yoke should be somewhere here. So when you're making a yoke, you're going to use the basic block, what we have. to draw in a yoke. So our yoke is 4 inches from the chest line. Our yoke is 4 inches from the chest line, and a yoke is a part that is cut from the actual garment. So if you're growing, this is the yoke. This is the yoke I'm talking about, the shaded part. So you get a yoke from the actual or the basic measurement, and what you do is when you have the pattern, you cut along your pattern. Then you have 2 parts. You're going to have 2 parts. This is the yoke and this is the bottom back or the lower back. You get the yoke and the lower back. So when you're cutting the pattern, you're going to cut along the line. So these are the areas that you're going to cut through. You're going to cut the center back line. Remember to include the hem, because if you don't include the hem, your shirt is going to be smaller than what your customer had ordered. So if you present a smaller garment or outfit to your customer, you're not going to give your customer quality. So these are the areas that you're going to cut. And remember to cut the neckline. Remember to cut the neckline. So this is the point that you're supposed to stop. Then remember to cut the yoke. And after you've cut the yoke, when you're going to lay this to your fabric, remember to add a seam allowance here. You add a seam allowance to a fabric, so as it gives you that allowance to a stitch. So if you stitch an outfit that doesn't have a seam allowance, assuming you stitch these, you've cut the yoke and you've joined these 2 parts, your back is going to be smaller than the front because you didn't add any allowance for stitching here. So remember to add a seam allowance between the yoke and the lower back. So this is this is the back of our shirt, and we're going to cut the front of our shirt. So we've gone through on how to make the patterns of the back. This is our back. So we're going to go to our front, and our front doesn't have so much details. What you do to the back is exactly what you do to the front, but there's a slight difference between the back and the front, and the difference comes in at the neckline. The difference only comes in at the neckline. When you look at our design, our back is a 2-piece. 2-piece meaning it has the yoke and the lower back. And when you look at our front, it's still 2-piece, but it doesn't have a seam. It's not the actual shirt that has an opening at the front. It has a slight opening at the upper, along the neckline. So it's a slight opening, or it's supposed to be a placket opening. So we're going to go through the same process that we went when we were constructing the back pattern and our front pattern, and we're going to just alter the neck and the center front line. So we're going to use the margin. We're not going to draw in a margin again. We only drew the margin at the back. So we're going to just put measurements, and we're going to do exactly what we did to the back. So at the back, when we're doing the actual measurement, we went in by 7 inches to get the shoulder line. So I'm going to use the edge of this pattern to get the shoulder line. So we measured 7.5 inches to get the actual shoulder measurement. Then you move to the chest line. We said this is the chest line, and you got the chest line by dividing our chest or our bust by 8 inches. So we got 8 inches from the shoulder line, and we've measured, we have the chest line, and we went in by 9.5 inches. So we're going to use the same measurement. We went in by 9 inches. And we say that our shirt is straight, meaning from the armhole to our lower shirt or the hem is supposed to be straight. If you wanted it to be a little bit flared, you would have added some measurements at the hem. So our shirt is straight, and we're going to measure the same measurements that we measured at the chest line. So that is 9 inches and 9 inches. And we're going to draw our lines. So from the hem, you draw a straight line to the chest or to the armhole, to the chest line or the armhole line. So that is our line, which is supposed to be 9 inches. Remember that the measurements that we have here, seam allowance is included in it. So and you maybe you're familiar with the seam allowance, but if you don't know what a seam allowance is that allowance that is added to cater for stitching, or when you want to expand your cloth, you use the seam allowance to adjust. So we measured 7 inches. For us to get this armhole, the armhole curve, we measured, we dropped the shoulder line, then we made a curve from the armhole point. So we're going to measure 7.5 inches from the edge, and that is 7.5. Then you draw in you drop your shoulder line, that is your shoulder line. Then we measured 1 inch from the shoulder point at the chest, to get the curve. And you're going to use your French curve to make the curve. So that's our curve. Then you're going to go in with half an inch, so as to get a good flowing shirt that doesn't have so much allowance along the upper part. So make sure that you go in. I don't know if you're able to see the point, the half an inch point. So this is our armhole. That is our armhole measurement. I remember that this is the front of our shirt. So I should write that this is the front. We've already cut the back. So this is the front shirt. And we say that there's a slight difference between the front and the back. And the difference comes in at the neckline. So when you remember when we were making the back of our pattern, we went down with 1 inch, then we went in with 3 inches. Remember that the shoulders, the front and the back shoulders, are supposed to be the same. So when you're stitching, this allowance should be the same for the back and the front. So we're still going to go in with 3 inches, just like we did for the back. We're going to go in with 3 inches. Difference comes in when you're lowering your neckline, and for our back we're going to lower our neckline with the same 3 inch. Remember, for our back we lowered our neckline by 1 inch. For our front we're going to lower our back with 3 inches. So we went in with 3 inches, then we lowered with 3 inches. We lowered our front with 3 inches, and I'm going to draw in the neckline curve. Make sure there is a curve. Use your French curves to draw the curves, because you need your curves straight. So that is our neckline, the front neckline. And we say that our shoulders are not always straight. We don't have straight shoulders, they are a bit lowered. So we're going to lower our shoulders by half an inch. So I've measured half an inch, and I'm going to use my ruler to draw in our shoulders. So this is the front, this is our front shirt, and according to our design, our front shirt has a placket opening. So it means from the shoulder point, the arm, from the neckline point, you're supposed to like cut to draw these or to put in the opening. And as you can see, it's a button opening. So we're going to make and it's a little bit it's around our chest area. So I'm going to, you're supposed, when you cut these, you're supposed to, when you lay your pattern, the front pattern, you're supposed to cut your front up to the chest line for you to be for you to get the opening. So what I'm going to do is separate the patterns. And how you're supposed to cut these is you're supposed to cut the edges where you've made your drawings. So this is where you're supposed to cut, and the shoulders, remember that we lowered our shoulders, so don't cut at the where you started. You're supposed to cut, that is where you're supposed to cut. So you're supposed to separate these. Then when you look at our design, our front shirt has a yoke, the back still had a yoke, and the front has a yoke. So we're going to cut our yoke, and you're going to do exactly what we did for the back, and you measured 4 inches from the chest line to get the yoke. So from the chest line, measure 4 inches to get the yoke. This simply means that our shirt is a the front of our shirt is 2-piece. So the whole of our shirt is 4-piece, meaning you have this 1 piece, this is the front yoke, and this is piece 1. Then you have the lower front, which is piece 2. Then we move to the back. The lower back is our piece 3, and the upper yoke is our piece 4. So these are 4-piece casual shirt, and what we're going to do next is separate, so I can show you how to lay your yoke and how to add seam allowances when you want to lay your pattern. So our next step is to separate the patterns, and I'm going to use my scissors to separate the patterns, and I'm going to cut. I'm going to start with the hemline. I'm going to start with our back. Remember your curve. Our curve there was not that clear, but I can see the lines. Remember that we lowered our shoulders, so don't cut straight shoulders. They're supposed to be curved. They are supposed to be lowered. Remember, I'm going to slash the whole of it. Remember that you lowered your shoulders, so don't cut straight shoulders. And what we have here, what we have is a back of our shirt. I'm going to cut the front. I'm going to separate the piece so I can get the actual pattern. Remember that we lowered our shoulders because our shoulders are not straight. So these are our two patterns. We say that the shoulders should match. As you can see, the back and the front of our shoulders are matching. The only difference comes in at the neckline. The front neckline should be lowered more than the back shirt. So the difference comes in at the neckline. Our armholes are matching and the hems are matching. So I'm going to show you how to cut the yoke. And we're going to slash our yoke. So we have our back yoke, Let us write back so you won't get confused when you're going to cut. So these are our back yoke. Our back yoke should be on fold. Supposed to, as you can see from our design, our design doesn't have a seam here. It means that what you have, you're supposed to put it on fold for you to get this part and this other part and this other part. So our back yoke should be on fold. So make sure that you put it on fold when you're going to cut. Then our back, when you look at our back, it doesn't have a seam here. And what we have is this piece. So we're supposed to use this piece to produce this other piece, and we achieve that by putting our center back on fold. So this is our center back. When we're coming to lay, we're going to lay our pattern on fold. So I'm going to draw in a fold line. This is simply to guide your cutter or the person who is going to use this pattern. You're going to show this cutter that the back of our shirt is supposed to be put on fold. On fold, it means that your fabric should be folded into two. Then this piece is supposed to be placed on the area where the fold is. So this is supposed to be cut 1. Because it's placed on fold, it's supposed to be cut 1. When you place it on fold, you're going to achieve this other side. So it's cut 1. Number of cuts, you're going to cut 1 piece. For our yoke, still, you're going to cut 1 piece. So when you put them on fold, they're going to produce the other side. Then you move to our front. This is our front. When you look at the design, it's only yoke that is supposed to be cut twice. The other part is supposed to be on fold, meaning our shirt doesn't have a seam here. So you're supposed to cut in a way that you won't get a seam at the middle. So our yoke is cut 2 because we have it. You're going to slash our front shirt here. So you have this piece, you're supposed to produce this other piece. So this should be cut 2. You have this, you're supposed to produce this other one. So these also are 2 pieces, so it's cut 2. So let us slash our yoke. And this is the center front line, center front. This is our center front line. So the center of our front, the lower front, is cut on fold because it doesn't have a seam. So the number of cuts you're supposed to place this on fold. Just measure 1 inch to draw in the fold line. So place it on fold. This is our lower front, and the number of cuts, we say that it's cut 1. You're supposed to only have 1 piece when you're going to stitch. So this is cut 1. Then our front has our yoke is between in our left and the right yoke is in between a placket opening, meaning these are 2 pieces because the placket is going to be sewn in between the 2 yokes, the left and the right. So this number of cuts is cut 2 because you need 2 pieces, this part and this other part. So this is cut 2 and it's not placed on fold, so you're going to have 2 pieces for the front. So with that, we're done with the front and the back construction of our shirt. So we said our shirt is 4 pieces. We have the 2 yokes and we have the 2 lower back and the lower front. So with this you're able to cut a shirt. In our next lesson we're going to draw in our sleeves, and when you have the sleeves, we're going to draw our long sleeves, and with sleeves your shirt should be complete. Your shirt also has a collar, the back collar. We're going to learn on how to cut the back collar, and it's a standing collar. So with that, that is our lesson today, and see you on my next lesson where we're going to cut the sleeve.